Hello YouTube. I'll tell you about a very interesting place that most of you have never heard about, but it's an attractive place for UFOs and USOs. The Putorana Plateau is a highly dissected mountain range located in the northwest of the Central Siberian Plateau. The maximum height of the plateau is 1701 meters. In the north, the Putorana Plateau borders the Taimyr Peninsula. The name Putorana means lakes with steep shores in the Evenki language. The area of the plateau is 250,000 square kilometers. The Putorana Plateau is like another planet. When you come up here, it's like you are in another dimension, in another reality, in a parallel world. Somewhere out there, trains are making noise, spaceships are plowing the sky, writers are writing, people are chatting on their cell phones, they're going to work, walking their dogs. But here, everything is the same, unchanged as it was 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 years ago. Well, maybe some stone has moved here and there. The snowfall has melted a little this year. It's the feeling of eternity. Perhaps similar feelings arise in any mountains, but it sounded especially vivid here. This world, the world of the Putorana Plateau, is very lost and inaccessible. What else? Here there is an acute feeling of human triviality, helplessness before the power and primacy of nature. You are on an equal footing with a simple spider. A human is no less vulnerable and no more valuable than a spider. And yet the plateau attracts not only human intelligence, and it is changing little by little. The Putorana Plateau is protected area full of mysteries. This is due to the inaccessibility and little knowledge of the region, as well as the lifestyle and customs of the indigenous people, ethnicities of the Putorana Plateau. Traces of pagan culture and numerous places of power attract sturdy, experienced Russian tourists very much. The figures of the idols worshipped by the locals, the Evenki people, are still preserved. They were the ones who actively developed this territory, while other people avoided these harsh places. Also, on the Putorana Plateau, you can find statues, man-made caves, masonry, remnants of colonnades, and other traces of civilization. There are also pyramids on the Putorana Plateau. These are structures of unknown origin, resembling pyramids or ancient temples. Something like this can be found in different parts of the world where ancient civilizations existed. I have another video just on this subject in my channel. You can find quite a lot about the paranormal phenomena of Siberia, the Arctic, far away and remote places that seem to attract non-human intelligence as well. There are also many legends about treasures hidden on the plateau. One of the most popular is about a golden idol buried somewhere in caves. There is no single account of where the statue came from. According to one theory, it was stolen by barbarians in Rome. Well, the reference is to the Golden Woman. And you can find more about this creature, this entity, by checking the words Golden Woman in the search section of my YouTube channel. In addition to ancient mysteries, eyewitnesses speak of paranormal activity on the Putorana Plateau. For example, something like a UFO was observed in the sky above the area, and not only once. And in winter, strange concentric circles constantly rise up in the area of one of the frozen waterfalls. To study this phenomena, a ufology base was even set up near Lake Lama, I will describe this more later in my video. Most tourists go to the Putorana Plateau precisely for the lakes. They're called local fjords because of their elongated shape and high walls. The Putorana lakes can be more than 100 kilometers long and only 0.5 to 7 kilometers wide. At the same time, they're quite deep, up to 420 meters deep. Unlike Norwegian fjords, Putorana fjords are fresh and clearly not of glacial origin. There's no single hypothesis of where they come from. Some consider from tectonic faults that eventually filled with water, while others consider them to be the consequences of permafrost. The largest lake of all the Putoranian lakes is the Hanti Lake. It is also very deep, second only to Lake Baikal. Well, the most popular among tourists is Lake Lama. Or Lama Lake is one of the most beautiful lakes on the plateau, and it is not for nothing that it is called the Pearl of the Putorana. Those who hear about Lake Lama for the first time first imagine a South American animal or a Buddhist monk and cannot understand what connection there can be with the name of the reservoir in Taimyr. There is no connection. The name comes from two languages of the indigenous people of the north, the Evenki and the Tongass Manchurian, and it means big water or sea ocean. Crystal clear Lake Lama is located about 120 kilometers from Norilsk, that forbidden Russian city where foreigners are not allowed, on the Putorana Plateau. It is one of the deepest and fishiest lakes in Russia. The pristine nature of the lake shores is complemented by the mountain slopes of the Mikchanga Massif in the north and the Lama Mountains with heights from 500 to 800 meters in the south. The Lama River flows from the lake of the same name. In fact, this is not a river but a spill between two lakes. There is almost no current in it. There are many islands, shores, a channel maneuvering between which you go into Lake Lama. The lake is surrounded on all sides by mountains with pronounced terraces, typical of the Putorana Plateau. Waterfalls begin to appear falling from the mountain terraces. The shores are covered with the northern taiga, boreal forest, consisting of large spruce, birch, with a dense undergrowth of alder. It is also interesting that psychics and esoterics often come to Lake Lama. They are sure that this reservoir is a source of tremendous power and a kind of reservoir of otherworldly energy. Lake Lama is also of interest to ufologists who believe that alien ships land on it. Ufologists have even set up their base near the lake. They also suggest that there is an alien base at the bottom of the lake. Lama Island is of particular interest not only to surveyors but also to ufologists. However, this UFO organization is closed off to others. They don't advertise their research. We don't know who they are. They even, apparently, that base is a scientific base. Not far from Lama. In the 1990s, after the perestroika policies of Mikhail Gorbachev, a place was found here on the territory of Lama Island, which looked very much like a cosmodrome or spaceport. There were footprints on the plateau that could have been mistaken for the landing site of some kind of aircraft. But this is not the only mystery of Lake Lama. Like I said, people often observe unexplained phenomena here. For example, such as a standing wave that rises in the middle of the lake for no reason. Some even claim to have seen some kind of monster in the middle of the lake. The ufologist bases at the mouth of the Putorana River. According to some tour operators, if the owners of the base are in place, they would talk about energy characteristics of these places. The rather large Putorana River flows into the small Bay of Lama, forming a branching delta. The passage from Putorana to the Mikchangda Canyon in a straight line is no more than 4 kilometers. Let me read you something from an article in the Russian newspaper. I believe it was Rossiyskaya Gazeta in the year 2022. I'll just quote it. We boarded a boat and sailed with a breeze to the cape opposite the Putorana River, and then we ascend. Going up to the first terrace, we encountered a bicentennial idol. The guide offered to leave it an offering. Then we will definitely meet a bear. But this apparently is the passionate desire of the Evenki who lives on Lama, and we don't need it. During a smooth ascent along the forested terraces, if you have enough strength, you can look back and see how the lake resting in the tectonic fault of the plateau is shrinking. But here I'm sitting on the edge of the cape and just turning my head to see and remember everything. The sparkling surface of Lama Lake, the Omon Uriach River running down from the terraces. Our camp is just opposite the slope of Mount Shaman, where they say flying saucers and other strange objects are often seen. I don't know, I haven't seen it, but I can easily imagine how mammoths, musk oxen, and sheep roamed here for a long time ago. There are hunting trackers behind them. The ancient tribes of the Evenki, who placed the idol on the lower terrace, roamed after the deer. And on a frosty polar night, under the northern lights, chasing deer, the Tungus looked around this middle world of people with his eyes. Long songs, thinking about the warm chum, hunting, and about his wife. And right there in the southwest of the Putorana Plateau, near Lake Vivi, a huge heart is pulsating, the geographical center of Russia. On the way back, I stopped by a pyramid of stones. Discarded deer antlers were fixed at the top, which is far from uncommon in these places. That's what the reporter put down. Now, I will tell you about an incident that happened on the lake to a Russian visitor to the site and his friends a few years ago. Evening, cloudless, starry sky. There is no wind. The surface is underwater, just grace. And suddenly, there's a flash in the night sky and a column of northern lights appears against the background of the stars. And this is in the month of August. It froze, lasted 15-20 minutes, and faded away. We were silent, stunned by the phenomenon, and then in the middle of the lake, directly in front of us, a green, blurred object appears half a meter above the surface of the water. The confrontation lasted about 5 minutes. Finally, throwing off stupor, we jumped into the boat and rowed towards the object. And it hovered over the water for another 2 minutes and instantly, with incredible speed, sped off into the distance. We just had to watch it go, disappointed. Naturally, the night passed without sleep, talking about UFOs and possible new encounters with intelligent beings, brothers of mankind in mind. The length of the lake is about 80 kilometers. The maximum width is 8 kilometers and the area is 318 kilometers. Lake Lama is crystal clear and very deep, with an average depth of about 300 meters, in some places reaching up to 600 meters. So very unusual. The lake is bordered by mountains with the height of more than 400 to 600 meters. The Lama River connects it with Lake Melkoa. The Lama Basin is of tectonic origin. The lake is covered with ice for 200-220 days a year, from early November to mid-July. The water is really big, just like the name says, while people are driving. The echo sounder on the boat showed the depth of more than 200 meters and sharp dips. However, how big they are is still unknown to science because it is quite difficult to study the lake, which is frozen for most of the year. Even on the map, it appears only in 1921 during the geological expedition of Nikolai Urvantsev. Some more history about the lake. Imprisoned in the Stalin's time, representatives of the top military and political leadership of the Baltic republics served their sentences on Lake Lama. A memorial sign has now been erected in this place. Soviet archaeologist Leonid Okhlobystin conducted several expeditions to the shores of local rivers and lakes in the mid-1970s. He discovered that the Putorana Plateau was not just inhabited 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. People were already using objects made of tin bronze, the oldest metal alloy. Since 1998, a private ethnographic museum has been established here. There are over 1,000 exhibits in this collection. There are religious utensils, ornaments, smoking pipes, harnesses, and other household items of the indigenous people. There is this campsite called Bunisyak. It's located there, and it's not just a vacation home. Its creator, Oleg Krashevsky, has been collecting antique costumes, household items, and ritual symbols of the northern ethnicities for half a century. He was on one of the trips with that scientist Okhlobystin, and believes that the scientist stepped on the tail of another civilization. And he still climbs to the farthest corners of the plateau where he can walk. It's hard to find someone who knows the neighborhood better. A hunting geologist by training, he worked for many years at the Research Institute of Agriculture of the Far North and was one of the initiators of the creation of the Putoran Nature Reserve. He has 16 scientific papers and 3 monographs, and it is he whom the Nganasan ethnicity call their white shaman. And you should listen to my videos about the Nganasan. You'll find it in this channel. Lama is very strong as place. People generally experience an energy boost here. And among the northern ethnicities, it is considered sacred. Many people make a wish here, says Yuri. By the way, in the city of Norilsk itself, it is worth looking at the Norilsk Golgotha, a memorial in memory of the victims of political repression during the communist regime. It's located at the foot of Mount Schmidt. Well, it is out of no foreigners can access it, not at this time. But also about that lake, I want to tell you about 2 other very interesting historical facts. There were 2 peaceful nuclear explosions on Lake Lama in the 1980s, Meteorite and Kraton. They were conducted underground for geological research purposes. Those explosions with very interesting names. The power of 7.6 per 13 kilotons was spent, respectively. For comparison, a bomb with the equivalent of 13 to 18 kilotons was dropped on Hiroshima in Japan. Stanislav Struchkov, chairman of the Taimyr Explorers Club, stated that it is not dangerous to be there now. First, the half-life is over. Secondly, these explosions were very clearly regulated and controlled. And dosimetrists regularly appear at the site. For example, the dosimetrists from Tomsk, they measure the radiation background in the area at the site of the explosions. Apparently, Struchkov and his colleagues were present at the measurements. They claimed that the radiation levels are even lower than normal, the scientists do, according to the chairman. Well, something else to keep in mind if you ever can get there to the Taimyr, because not all of it is inaccessible to foreigners. And if you like ufology, it's one of the places to look for it. In the fall of 2023, Taimyr Nature Reserves announced the completion of construction within the framework of the Lama Visitor Center. Resources and Opportunities Project. The new tourist infrastructure facility is being filled with a full and creative life. The visitor center was conceived as a social facility. It was implemented in this way. Security and tourist events would take place there. A winter laboratory building would be set up next to the dome of the Dobrosphere, where scientists would conduct monitoring studies of this extraordinary corner of nature. The decisive factor in choosing the place was time, so that it would be as convenient as possible to get there. For example, on a KS-100 type boat, the journey to the Lama Visitor Center from the pier on the Norilsk River will take no more than 3 hours. On a hovercraft, even less. Well, so hopefully the territory will be quite and wide open for visitors from other countries too, because you might see UFOs, and you might even encounter those secretive Russian ufologists, if that's what they are, on Lake Lama. Who knows? I have to tell you more about the Plateau, and I will make more videos on the subject, but you can find quite a lot about the Russian Arctic UFOs and USOs in my channel. I want to thank you for your attention to my work. If you can support my research, please do so through the links you find in the description to this channel. Please subscribe to my channel. Please make sure they notify you when new videos come out. And please tell others about my work.